are some of the technologies? Because I remember back in the day, you used to buy your laptop, you used to load your antivirus on there, and then you were pretty much good to go. But these days, that doesn't seem like that's enough. The threat seems so much greater. Are the people who are trying to exploit our weaknesses seem much more aggressive and much more creative in their approaches. What are some of the categories of countermeasures that we do today that we just didn't used to do 20 years ago?
Creative is definitely a good way to put it. We are constantly trying to figure out the new ways folks are trying to take advantage of the environment and get into our resources. The technology that we have to introduce today is infinitely more complex to help, address the creative approaches that are coming in. We used to be able to know there was like a list of ways that somebody could get in, right? And our traditional antivirus worked by basically knowing what all of the bad types of attacks and software that were out there. And it would say, I see you on this list and I'm going to keep you from getting in. But what's happened is folks have gotten so creative and have created their own sets of complex code to generate things that are new every time. So the only way to sort of fight back against that is to create our own software that does effectively the same thing in reverse. It predicts and understands, well, if somebody were to do something malicious, these are the things that I'm going to see when that happens. And if I see any of that, I need to alert, our security folks and our IT administrators to do something about it. We have these very large systems at this point that do a lot of data ingest and analysis of all that stuff that's being captured in the environment on our endpoints, on our network devices, on all the tools and technologies that sit in between and listen to the back and forth internet traffic that goes on. We've got automation components that tie into that because the longer someone's in the environment, the more danger that you are in as an organization. And the concept of making sure that it's commonly referred to as dwell time, right? To make sure that they're not dwelling in your environment too long. These automations, we like to give fancy names to everything, right? So SOAR is what we call it, right? Orchestration and automation and response is what that stands for. And the idea is that we capture the data, we ingest, analyze, and automatically respond to that in seconds versus in prior years, it would take a person to sit there and look through all the information, analyze it, and then come up with what the response is. As the attackers get more efficient with their processes, we have to come up with the same approach and come up with our own that are just as quick and responsive so we can make sure that we don't, have long periods of time where the attacker is monkeying around in the environment.
Well, Mike, that's fascinating. It's almost as if it's their computers versus our computers. And how do we stay ahead of the game? Because they're continually doing apply their creativity against us. And so we have to be ahead of that to make sure that we're not the ones who are left behind.
Yeah, that is always the challenge, right? Is human behavior plays so much of a role in the way that the cyber attacks execute. Because when you understand what your adversary is after, you then can understand how best to protect your environment. If you know that they're after your funds and your dollars that you've got in the bank somewhere, you know that you can put your focus on those systems that are involved with making those changes, or the processes that are involved with that, right? All of the gift card level scams and those things that we see as home users, we know and train to say, look, if you're going to pay for anything that somebody calls you up on the phone or sends you a text message about, you better double check. Call the number on the back of your bank card. Call your parent that's saying that, hey, I need an emergency, $100 because I broke down on the side of the road. Like that reconfirmation is what we're programming people to do, to say, look, those fake requests that are coming in, you need to be skeptical of them and deal with them. And it's important that we build our systems to incorporate those types of steps into as well.